There's a word that keeps coming up again and again whenever people talk about Meghan Markle, and sometimes even Prince Harry. That word is narcissism. You've seen it in comments. You've heard it in videos. You've probably even questioned it yourself. But here's the real problem. Most people using that word don't actually understand what they're pointing at. So instead of repeating labels, let's break this down properly. Narcissism, at its core, isn't just confidence. It's a pattern of behavior often associated with a strong need for admiration, control over how one is perceived, difficulty accepting criticism, and sometimes a lack of empathy. But here's where things get complicated. Public figures, especially ones under constant scrutiny, often display behaviors that can look similar, even if the intent is completely different. So the real question isn't, are they narcissists? The real question is, what patterns are people reacting to and why? Let's start with one of the most talked about patterns: control of the narrative. Over the past few years, Harry and Meghan have made a very clear shift. Instead of relying on traditional media, they've told their story directly. Interviews, documentaries, public statements. At one point, Meghan openly questioned why others should tell their story when they could do it themselves. Now, critics look at this and say, this is about control. This is about shaping perception. And that's where the narcissism label starts to appear. But here's the counterpoint. In today's world, controlling your narrative isn't unusual. It's strategy, especially when you believe your story has been misrepresented. So is this narcissism? Or is it modern media awareness? Now let's talk about visibility. Harry and Meghan didn't disappear after stepping back. If anything, they became more visible. Appearances, projects, global conversations. Critics argue this creates a contradiction. If they wanted privacy, why stay in the spotlight? And again, the label comes back. Attention-seeking. But here's what's often missed. Visibility today is currency. Influence requires presence. So, what looks like attention-seeking to one person looks like strategic positioning to another. Another point people focus on is how openly they speak about personal struggles, mental health, pressure, media treatment. Some critics interpret this as centering themselves, framing everything around their experience. And that's where the word narcissism gets used again. But there's another way to look at it. Sharing personal experience can also be a way of building connection, creating relatability, driving awareness. So again, we hit the same tension. Is this self-focus? Or is it storytelling with purpose? Now let's address something more uncomfortable. There have been reports, especially in media coverage, about tensions behind the scenes. Allegations about staff relationships, claims of difficult working environments. These are often used as evidence to support the narcissism narrative. But here's the problem. Most of this information is secondhand, reported, interpreted, amplified. And in high-profile environments, conflict doesn't always equal personality disorder. It can also mean pressure, misalignment, cultural differences, or simply conflicting expectations. So while these stories add fuel to the narrative, they don't provide definitive answers. When you step back, a clearer picture starts to form. What people are reacting to isn't just one behavior. It's a combination. Strong narrative control, high visibility, personal storytelling, public controversy. Individually, these are normal in modern public life. Together, they create a perception. And perception is powerful. So why does the word narcissism spread so quickly in this context? Because it simplifies complexity. Instead of analyzing patterns, people assign a label. It's easier to say, that's narcissism, than to say, this is a mix of strategy, personality, pressure, and public perception. But the second explanation is usually closer to reality. Here's the part most people avoid. You cannot diagnose someone through clips, interviews, or headlines. You can observe behavior. You can analyze patterns. But you cannot know internal motivation. And that distinction matters. Because without it, analysis turns into assumption. So where does that leave us? What we're seeing isn't a simple answer. It's a complex mix of modern branding, public storytelling, media interpretation, and audience reaction. And depending on how you interpret those elements, you'll reach very different conclusions. Now I want to hear your perspective. Do you think these patterns reflect something deeper? Or are they simply part of how public figures operate today? Let me know in the comments. If you found this breakdown useful, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next analysis. Thanks for watching.